In the previous installment of this retrospective, we saw how Snake had accepted the name of Big Boss, and how he was pushed closer to the edge by Zero. Zero was his former commander and his former friend, and Zero had attempted to kill him. The next game in the series would again jump forward in time. Metal Gear Solid Rising was originally announced at E3 in 2009. It was originally set to take place in the time gap between MGS2 and MGS4, in the events where Raiden rescues Sonny from the Patriots. However, after years of developing the game at Kojima Productions, Hideo Kojima decided that the idea for the new game was not being implemented properly by his team. The game was not a stealth game. It was designed around sword fighting and the ability to cut nearly anything. It wasn't designed around Snake, who was a stealth super soldier. Instead, it was designed around Raiden, who had become a cyborg ninja. Kojima's team had many troubles with the game, so in 2011, Hideo Kojima decided to hand the project over to another team that would be more used to working on the type of game that it was supposed to be. Kojima decided that since the themes of the game are uniquely Japanese, then the game should be made by a Japanese company. So he decided to hand the project over to Platinum Games. Platinum Games is possibly most well known for creating the Bayonetta games. The next Metal Gear game would be directed by Kenji Saito of Platinum Games, while Hideo Kojima would take on the job as supervising director. Platinum Games completely revamped the game, changing much of the gameplay and much of the story. They didn't want their story to have a set ending. They felt that if everyone knew how the game would end, then it would take away from the creative process of the game. So instead of the game taking place between MGS2 and 4, it would instead take place 4 years after the events of MGS4, and the game would no longer be called Metal Gear Solid Rising. Now, it would be called Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. And similar to how a demo for MGS2 was shipped with the original Zone of the Enders game, a demo of Metal Gear Rising was shipped with the Zone of the Enders HD collection. It is 4 years after the events of MGS4. In order to support his family the only way he knew how, Raiden joined a private military company, or PMC, called Maverick Security Consulting Incorporated. He has joined on to protect VIPs, and that is what he is doing in Africa, protecting the Prime Minister. They are soon attacked by Desperado Enforcement LLC, another PMC whom had a cyborg army working for them. Desperado also had another group working with them, the Winds of Destruction, a group of 4 super cyborgs. 2 of them are Sundowner and Jetstream Sam, who kidnap the Prime Minister, and Raiden has to chase after them in order to save the VIP he was assigned to protect. Unfortunately, Sundowner kills the Prime Minister, and Jetstream Sam has a brutal and badass showdown with Raiden on top of a speeding train, where Sam slices into Raiden's face and leaves Raiden missing an arm. Again. The battle is interrupted and Jetstream Sam escapes. Raiden is taken back to Maverick headquarters where he is patched up by his team. Boris, the president of Maverick and Raiden's instructor. Kevin Washington, who was in charge of everything in Maverick from human resources to arms procurement. And he was voiced by Phil Lamar, who also voiced Vamp in MGS2 and 4. And he also happened to play this guy on Mad TV. Courtney Collins was a data analyst and would supply radio support for Raiden. And finally, there was the Doctor, who was a German scientist hired by Maverick as an advisor. Move over, Monster Squad, this guy takes the title of Creepy German Guy. He has a very Frankenstein feel about him, which becomes more apparent when he asks Raiden to collect cyborg arms for him so he can gather data from them. After Raiden is patched up, he is then sent out again to hunt down Desperado, and get his revenge for the killing of the Prime Minister. Raiden doesn't just have to fight off the 4 Winds of Destruction, but he also has to fight off the cyborg army fighting for Desperado. And they don't just have human cyborgs. There is a vast array of enemies in this action-packed game. Hell, the first boss is a Metal Gear Raid unit, which Raiden is somehow powerful enough to throw into the air with his bare hands. The geckos and scarabs from MGS4 also make a return, along with several new cyborg weapons, such as the Mastiffs, who were large gorilla-like mechs, who were heavily armored and had grenade launchers in their wrists. There was also the Grad, which was a bulldozer like Metal Gear. It was bipedal with wheels and had the ability to lower its head and bring its armor panels in front of itself to form a barricade, which gave it the appearance of a bulldozer. Then there was the Raptor, which was like a combination of a gecko and a scarab. These things looked very familiar to me when I first played this game. That is because they look very similar to the Metal Gears and Metal Gear Solid Philanthropy. the first part of a trilogy of Metal Gear fan films that came out in 2009. I am still waiting for parts 2 and 3, but alas, in October 2014 the project came to a stop due to licensing issues, and who knows if it will ever be released. Then there are Blade Wolves, cybernetic wolves with chainsaws on the ends of their tails. The first one you encounter is one of the first bosses of the game, and after defeating him, it is reprogrammed to act as a scout for Raiden and becomes one of his greatest allies. The secret plot that Desperado is supporting is soon discovered. They are kidnapping children and harvesting their brains to be put into cyborg bodies. Why children? Because children are easy to mold into whatever they want. Raiden finds this out by first saving one of these children, a young boy named George, who says the one line that stuck with me most from this game. It was so deep and heartfelt that I could never forget it. I'm just kidding. He says, "Go ninja, go!" Which is a hilarious reference to the ninja rap performed by the rapper Vanilla Ice in the 1991 movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. The first member of the Winds of Destruction that Raiden takes out is Mistral, a half-French, half-Algerian cyborg woman that is equipped with a suit that allows her to attach the arms from the scarabs onto her body, and she had a pole staff that was also made from the arms of the scarabs. Next up, Raiden heads to Colorado to put a stop to the child abduction cyborg clan. The entire plan is being secretly run by a Colorado politician named Stephen Armstrong. In Colorado, we discover that the police are also cyborgs. Even the police have been militarized. That's completely ridiculous. That could never happen. Right? That's crazy. Anyway, after Raiden fights his way through the police of Colorado, he makes his way to the building where the children's brains are being stored. And outside, he fights the second of the Winds of Destruction, Monsoon, a Cambodian cyborg that wields a pair of sai and has the ability to control magnetic fields. That allows him to manipulate metals, like Magneto from X-Men. And he also has the ability to split his body into several sections, held together by magnetic fields, in order to dodge attacks, allowing Raiden's sword to pass right through his body without being hurt in the slightest. Next up is the leader of the Winds of Destruction, Sundowner, an American cyborg that was equipped with two large machetes that could be merged into one to form what appeared to be a large pair of scissors, like a cross between Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th and Scissor Man from the Clock Tower video game series. He also has shields on arms that are attached to his back and can be swung around in front of him to form a large shield, and Raiden would have to go into blade mode and cut through the shield in a certain direction to break Sundowner's defenses. After defeating Sundowner and rescuing the children's brains, it is discovered that Stephen Armstrong plans to take control of a new form of Metal Gear in order to attempt to assassinate the president while on a diplomatic trip to Pakistan, so that a new war could be started, because it would jumpstart a new war economy and get Armstrong votes to become the next president of the United States. However, Raiden can't get there in time, unless of course he had a supersonic jet, and he just so happened to know someone that had one. But on the way to stop the assassination, Raiden is stopped by the final remaining member of the Winds of Destruction, Jetstream Sam. He is a ninja that is on par with Raiden's abilities, and he was actually one of the most powerful members of Desperado, despite him being one of the lower ranking members, and having very little actual cyborg parts. He was mostly human, inside an exoskeleton. After defeating him, Raiden finally makes his way to the Mach 23 jet that is waiting for him, and it is discovered that the jet was entirely built and designed by Sunny, the genius girl who he had formerly rescued from the Patriots, and she has grown up a bit since the events of MGS4. Raiden takes the jet to Pakistan where Armstrong is waiting for him, and Raiden is attacked by Metal Gear Exilis, a Metal Gear in the shape of a giant ant. Screw Ant-Man, this is Ant Gear. Raiden somehow manages to rip off the giant sword arm of Ant Gear and uses its own weapon against it, slicing it to several pieces with a giant sword. Raiden is pretty much Superman in this game. After defeating Exilis, Stephen Armstrong comes out and explains his plan. He explains how he played college football for the University of Texas, because America. And he explains how he was in the Navy, because America. He also explains his plan to become president using war as a business, to end war as a business. 'Cause America. He beats the crap out of Raiden, and it is discovered that his strength has been enhanced by nanomachines that would harden his skin upon impact. All is looking grim for Raiden, and it appears like all is lost, when the friendly Blade Wolf shows up with Jetstream Sam's sword, and it is this sword that allows Raiden to finally defeat Armstrong. Raiden has stopped the assassination of the president, stopped Armstrong's rise to power, and stopped all-out war against Pakistan. And the game is over. Many people didn't like Metal Gear Rising, but at the same time, many people did. It was a game that was entirely different from the rest of the series, both in gameplay and story. I'll admit, Rising's story was not up to par with the rest of the series, but it was a game that was entirely different from the rest of the series, and is a fun installment to the Metal Gear story. The next installment of the game would go back to the past again. Jeez. This game series goes back to the past more than the angry video game nerd. Anyway, join me next time to see a shorter Metal Gear.